Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we've got us getting started with Age of Sigmar 3rd edition video for you, and today we're going to be looking at the Lumineth Realm Lords, and in particular, the Alarith sub-faction of the army. Now, Alarith are one of the multiple different temples that make up, I guess, the Lumineth Realm Lords sort of mystical sort of godlike aspect that they sort of worship. They have obviously their god Teclis, and he taught them the four Elementiri along with Selenar, and the Alarith are the mountain, the stone, the earth aspect of that. And so today we're going to look at how we can build a Lumineth Realm Lords force focusing on this particular thing. First of all, we're going to go up and we're going to talk a little bit about what this army is to begin with, and talk about, you know, what it does on the tabletop, what it can do, etc. And then we'll look at how we can get started with this force, how we can look to expand it with other units, and then we'll give a little sample army list at the end of the video. But to start this off, let's look at what exactly we get when we're playing with Alarith. Now, the three primary, I guess, parts of the Lumineth Realm Lords force that we have at the moment, being Venari, Alarith, and Huracan. The Alarith get some special rules that are unique to them. Lumineth Realm Lords share a bunch of generic special rules like Aether Quartz and stuff like that between them, but the Alarith get some additional special rules, and these really make the army quite defensive. First of all, we get the Enduring as Rock, and this is pretty much simple. The Alarith ignore a point of rend on all attacks. This is really solid. It's a sort of, I guess, +1 save, but not always a +1 save, if that makes sense, because you're ignoring that point of rend. So this is pretty cool, because it means you can get +1 save on these guys with things like all that defense or Mystic Shield, etc., plus ignoring a point of rend, meaning, you know, they can rend 1 attacks, you're still going to get that +1 save again, so they're going to do nothing with that rend, so pretty darn cool there. Now, to counteract this, the monsters in the army can actually be pretty deadly. They've got some decent damage profiles on those monsters, and those monsters are really defensively sound themselves to begin with, but they do also pack quite a punch. A lot of the monsters have some really good damage profiles where they're hitting with light damage 5, weapons and stuff like that. The army, however, is quite slow, where even your monsters have a movement of 6, and that is pretty much the stock standard sort of movement for a normal elf, but for monsters you generally expect them to be a little bit quicker. These ones aren't so much, they are relatively slow, but the army has some cool movement tricks in its other unique special rule for Alarith with the Tectonic Force, and this is when you have Alarith units can sort of push back your opponent's units and then move forward into the gaps. This is pretty cool because your opponent still has to maintain coherency when getting these moves and getting pushed back, and you get to move forward. It can really sort of help you around the objective play of the game, pushing your opponent's units into directions you don't, or rather you want them to go, but they don't want to go. The last thing to mention is, of course, this is a Lumineth Realm Lords army, and even more so than normal, this is a very, very elite army. So you're going to have very few models on the table, even for a normal Lumineth Realm Lords army. Probably about half the amount of models in a normal Lumineth Realm Lords army are going to be on the table for this particular sub-faction. But with that all said, let's have a look at how we can get started with this particular army. And so, where to start exactly? Well, first of all, let's pick up our hero option for the army, and that is an Alarith Stone Mage. Now, this is a Lumineth Realm Lords Wizard model, so straight away this gives us access to a few cool things. First of all, we've got a leader and a hero for the force, and then we've got a wizard. The Stone Mage has some interesting abilities. Not all of them are on his War Scroll. A cool thing he does is the monsters we'll talk about in a little bit, he actually makes them fight on as if they've taken no wounds around them, thanks to his little ability, but this ability is actually kept on the Spirit of the Mountains War Scroll rather than the Stone Mages. The Stone Mage is a pretty basic wizard, and he's also got the Stone Mage stance, where at the start of the combat phase you can say he's going into it. If you do so, friendly Alarith Stone Guard units hold within 12 inches of this model cannot make a pile-in move in that phase. However, until the end of the phase, improve the range characteristic of melee weapons used by that model by a point of 1 until the start of the next phase. So you've got a cool rule to actually give yourself some increased rend, which is really nice. This is really cool because some of the Stone Guard, which are the other unit I definitely recommend starting out this army with, because they are going to be, I guess, your most common troop in the army, is picking them up because one of their weapon options, or rather both their weapon options, give them access to a point of rend, so they can go up to rend 2 with this. I would say one of, because you've also got the Stratum hammers which go onto the Sergeant of the unit, and they don't have rend built into them. However, the pair of Stratum hammers does allow for rerolls to hit, and this is pretty cool when you compare with the other rules we've got. So we've got the Crushing Blow, which is from the Stone Mallets, where you can add one to the damage from the attacks, or you get mortal wounds off of the Diamond Pick hammers. So both these two different weapon options have some versatility. I think, for starters, if you're going to build this army to begin with, you're picking up a Stone Mage, 2 boxes of Alarith, and trying out both weapon options. You could easily, later, if you prefer one weapon option over the other, just go back in your spare bits and do a little snip on the top of your things and change over those hammers to the weapon option that you prefer. Would not be hard at all to make that work and not damage your models. And well, where to next? Well, I don't think there's anywhere to go next other than looking at the Spirit of the Mountains. And of course, the name character variation, Avalanor the Stoneheart King. Spirit of the Mountains are great. First of all, they're on a 3-up save, and while Avalanor can obviously buff himself with all-out defense, you know, you're going to have your Stone Mage near your Alarith Spirit of the Mountain generally to make sure he's fighting on his top bracket at all times. But this also means you're going to have that the Stone Mage near your mountain, so you can start using command abilities on it, which is pretty cool, meaning they can both go down to that 2-up save. They're ignoring a point of rend. They've also got the abilities, some other cool abilities. We've already mentioned the fact that they fight on as if they're taken no wounds when they're near a Stone Mage. You've also got the fact they get extra attacks if they haven't charged, so if they get charged, they do more damage. Once again, while they can do the damage, they do fight well defensively. You got the Stoneheart Shockwave, where you can sort of make opponents -1 to hit around you. And you've also got the ability where at the end of each of your hero phase, you can pick one friendly Lumineth Realm Lord's hero. If the hero is within 3 inches of this model, then the Lumineth Realm Lord hero can use a command ability in the turn without spending any command points. So, you know, this could be a great way to get that all-out defense on a normal, non-hero version of the Alarith Spirit of the Mountain. Now going over to Avalanor, he's got some really cool things. First of all, he's pretty much just a generic Alarith Spirit of the Mountain, sort of bolstered up that a little bit. He's got more damage, his abilities work that a little bit better. He's also got a command ability as well, where you can add one to the attack characteristics of melee weapons used in that phase, for up to D3 Alarith Elf units near him, which is pretty cool. So he's definitely something worth looking at. But both of these are really solid in the new edition for some great monsters. Going to be hard to take down and also be able to do the damage to get rid of other monsters. And so last of all, we've put together a little sample army list here so you can see how Alarith can work on the table and get an army up and running nice and quick so you can start playing with this awesome looking elf army. Now, obviously, playing in Lumineth Realm Lords, we're going to play in the great nation of Umetrica. This is really cool, and generally, if you're playing Alarith, this is the way to go. First of all, Avalanor has this keyword, so if you're looking to play in large games with Avalanor, you're definitely going to want to have this subfaction. But to start off, we get the Enduring Mountain Realm Rule, which is one of the different abilities we get for this particular subfaction, where you ignore 2 points of rend rather than just a single point. So this really just bolsters up what you're doing already, but making you do it better. In general, that's what, I guess, Umetrica really gives you. It gives you what you're doing already with Alarith and doing it better, and that's exactly what you want from a subfaction to play your army. Grand strategy-wise, Hold the Line is solid. Our battle line units are going to be really, really tough and hard to remove, so definitely looking at that. And then Triumph, we're only 5 points less, so, you know, you're not guaranteed to get this Triumph all that much, but we are going to take Inspired as our Triumph. This would mean we're going to get that extra sort of +1 to wound, which would be pretty cool. And so for our leader, we've got an Alarith Stone Mage. He's going to be our general and have the Almighty Blow and Mountain's Gift, command trait, and artifact respectively. These are what he must take, thanks to being in this particular sub-faction. And then we're also going to give him the Law of the High Peak spell, Crippling Vertigo. Now, Crippling Vertigo is really fun, where you pick one enemy unit, hold within 18 inches of the caster, and visible to them, and until your next hero phase, you roll 2d6 before that unit makes a normal move, charge move, or pile in, and if the roll is greater than their bravery, they can't do it. This can really affect their movement and really sort of, I guess, works well with their movement, sort of counteracting their movement ability, and which in turn increases yours. If you can move and your opponent can't, it makes your movement better, even if it isn't actually getting better itself, you're decreasing your opponent's. Now, Almighty Blow and Mountain's Gifts. First of all, Almighty Blow is just a cool way to do some mortal wounds. Generally, it's probably going to be more than your Stone Mage is going to do in combat. And Mountain's Gift is the artifact he gets where he gets to pick one of his melee weapons and once per phase you can add 1 to the damage inflicted by it. In addition, you can roll a dice each time you take a wound or mortal wound. On a 6, that mortal wound is negated, but if it's a spell or endless spell on a 5 up, it's negated instead. So, you know, a nice little ward save and a little bit of a damage boost. It's not the worst artifact in the world to have as a generic one you are forced into taking. 2 units of 5 Alarith are where we go for our battle line units, and what I would do these, generally at the start, I'd suggest building 1 unit of each, just seeing which one you like better, and like I said, you can easily chop and change these later. And then we're going to take an Alarith Spirit of the Mountain as well, getting in all those cool Alarith pieces to start out our army. We're going to be a battle regiment, meaning everything here drops as 1, so we've got a nice 1 drop, 745 points, no reinforced units, no allies, 37 wounds, and as mentioned, a 1 drop army. If you're playing with Alarith in the new edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, let us know how you're going, let us know what you're doing, and most of all, everyone, just let us know how you're liking Lumineth Realm Lords in the new edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Well, that's the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you'd like to, you can come over and chat more with us here at Sinful Gaming and our fine little community over on Discord. You'll find a link to that Discord in the description of the video. Lastly, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel via Patreon and YouTube members, and if you'd like to help support the channel via Patreon or YouTube members, you can do so by one of the links in the video's description once again. But a special shout out to all our patrons: Christian Weir, James, Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lyle, Outer and Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, and Dynat226. And another special shout out to our YouTube members: Greenridge Gaming, Kenton Young, Steve T, The Real Zeop, Chris Wallace, Turo12, Vinny, Lock Lorick, Matt Mollin, Becca Kinski Groupie, and the Johnny84. And lastly, a definite special shout out first of all to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel, and to Xmorphic, who does all the background work for our Discord server, keeping everything there running smoothly, because I am completely computer illiterate. Thank you very much. But that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe again. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.